Hi and good evening, listeners. Today I represent HEN, Her Entrepreneurial Network, a community of women entrepreneurs focused on inspiring, informing, and supporting each other to build successful businesses along with balanced lives. Speaking of women entrepreneurs, I am one, or entrepreneurs in general, it is often said that our journeys are alone, right? I'm sure you can resonate with that. One of our biggest struggles, and no prizes for guessing, is sales, right? The magic word. Today, we have a guest who could help us with exactly that. Manish Tiwari is a non salesy sales and career transition coach, having served 150 plus delighted clients. I'm sure you like the sound of that already. Manish is not only a dear friend, but also someone who's a go to for many entrepreneurs and businesses that struggle with sales. This evening, he helps us bust some myths and mistakes that help us then sell strong. So, why not stay glued? Welcome, Manish. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good, Gunjan, and great to be with you and on this hen platform. I think excited to be here talking to you and through you to all the listeners out over there on multiple platforms that this is streaming. Yeah.
Totally. I'm so looking forward to bring value to all our listeners today. Manish, I would love to hear by beginning, by hearing a bit about you and the work that you do. I think that will be a great start.
Sure. So, very short, quick intro, make it quick because we need to get down to the topic at hand. I have about 25 years. In fact, this very interesting. We're talking in August. I just completed 25 years of my professional work journey. 23 of them has been into the corporate. So, a regular employee at a corporate. I spent all these 23 years into sales, starting from being a frontline sales executive and then rose in the ranks and then became a
Hmm.
VP at a Series C funded startup. So I've led businesses, grown businesses. That's all I did in my corporate journey. And about 22 months back, I took the big shift where I moved from the corporate and really looked at what more I can do. And this was the passion was sales always. So I
Yeah.
thought, let me be a sales coach, a mentor, and a trainer, wherein the big focus is to work with startups, entrepreneurs, especially people who are scaling their businesses, building their businesses, and really help them develop the mindset, skills, and systems to sell better and sell more. So that's what I do for a living now. I do this sales coaching, mentoring, and training, and I always love this chance to speak to people and share whatever I have learned in my journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, Manish, I already mentioned that you're a non-salesy sales coach. So before we get on to the mistakes, I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, so one is obviously it makes a good headline, but but the other part of it is I deliberately looked at it because that's exactly how I describe myself.
Mm,
The way when people look at sales coaching or anybody in sales, I have seen people always have certain perceptions and
yes.
images about people, about thought, even before they meet people, which is primarily of a certain type, extrovert, very
Mm,
pushy, always
mm,
looking at numbers type of a thing. I believe my
mm,
whole personality and the way I have sold in my entire career has been very opposite to that. And that's what I call as non-salesy. Yes, I have done selling. I've done good bit of selling. I've done good bit of targeting, but it's more to do with a different type of sales, a non-salesy way. And so that's what I try to teach and mentor people on. That even if you don't need to be of one dimensional in selling, you can build your own personality and actually sell in a non-salesy way.
absolutely. I think that ties back very nicely to the topic that we have today, because even entrepreneurs feel that, when they start a business, they start it because of the passion and the love for what they want to do. And
Yes.
they don't see themselves as salesy people out there to sell for themselves. But I believe that you're an advocate of that. And I would love for you to share a little bit more, specifically from the point of view of people who are, just there for the love of it, people who may feel that they are introverted personalities, and yet, how can they sell even while they feel that they are non-salesy? Coming from the non-salesy background yourself, I think that's the connection that I want to make. And if you can share some light on that first.
Sure. So I believe, obviously, The way I look at it, any business needs obviously revenue, and revenue will come when you sell. So
Mm,
I always am a very strong advocate of founders, entrepreneurs who are building anything, whether of passion
mm,
or whatever, even if you're solo business or a big business, to sell for a couple of
mm,
reasons. One,
mm,
I guess when you sell, which
mm,
basically means that you are out in the market, right? And you are
mm,
meeting the prospects, you're talking to the people and all. That's the best way to know what is working and what is not working. The market, I think, is the best judge. Sitting in
mm,
your office, you can make big strategies. You can think this product is great, this service is great,
mm,
but the rubber meets the road when you are really hitting the floor. And I think this is one mistake I have seen a lot of
mm,
entrepreneurs make. Uh,
mm,
so that's one reason I think you learn the most in the market. So you should sell, and
mm,
especially since you're an entrepreneur, I think most of the people listening here would be entrepreneurs. You're
mm,
an entrepreneur is always working on the things, right? Your product is never perfect. So when you
mm,
go out in the market, you get right feedback, you get something good, something bad, and you can go back and then implement it in your business and make it even better. So that's, I think, the
mm.
number one reason why even if you are, let's say, an introvert or so, and I'll come to the introvert part,
Yes.
you should sell. And the second, I think, big reason is also because even when tomorrow, and this is one struggle I have seen with many entrepreneurs, like even if
Mm,
they when they hire their sales team, since they have
mm,
never done selling themselves, it's very
mm.
tough for them to manage a sales team like that, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they have not been in the field, right? so
Yeah.
so what will you teach somebody, or how will you manage somebody if you don't even know something about that? So
Mm,
that's the other part of learning to sell, or should sell, I think an entrepreneur should do. And on
mm,
the introvert part, I would say, uh, it's the extrovert part of sales is, I think, too much spoken about. But the fact is that when you are if you're an introvert, you start with a lot of advantages. You are generally more thoughtful, you are generally more observant, you generally have
wow.
a better listening skills. And I think
Mm,
these skills are very important today in selling environment, because clients
mm,
want to feel heard, listened to,
mm,
understood, and they don't want to be pitched. People
mm,
don't want to be pitched every time, and
mm,
introverts have a lot of advantage in that, and your
mm,
passion comes out. So
mm,
I think they do make up for a good. I know so many people. I would myself consider as a at least an ambivert, if not an introvert.
amazing.
So I think that's how I look at sales for people.
Awesome. So what I hear you say is that, of course, you conceive your business within closed doors, but then it's time to come out and bring your product out. But what I really loved about what you said is that it's not a outside in activity. You don't go out because you have to push yourself out. You go out because people need you, and that's the thing that you want to convey, right? I think
Sure.
that's what I'm kind of concluding from what you are saying,
Yeah.
and that's a very interesting perspective, and that can give a great push to those who want to, who are still wondering whether they should be out there selling their businesses or not. Fantastic. Okay, so the next thing that really comes to mind is, even as you start promoting or even talking about your brand for that matter, um, what also starts getting created is an image of sorts about yourself. Your
Hmm.
own personal brand kind of starts
Yeah.
getting played up, and
Yeah.
even though you may not be conscious about it, initially, but eventually it starts getting created. So do you see that important in the context of sales specifically?
Yeah, very much. I think I've seen that evolution. So there was a time when only companies used to have brands, right? And they
Mm,
would be known by the brands. But I
mm,
believe the world of sales and the world of business has changed a lot. And
mm,
why? There is a reason why, and I maybe spend a couple of minutes.
mm,
Personal brands are very important today, because personal brand is actually perhaps the only unique thing you have. Like, people
mm.
can copy your business model, people can copy
Wow.
your style of working a lot, but it's very tough
True.
for somebody to become you. Like, I am I,
Mm,
and I remain I, right? That's very tough for somebody to be exactly like me. You are
yeah.
truly unique as a brand, and when you
Mm,
build your brand as a unique, and that's where authenticity is very important. You don't need to copy anybody. You just
mm,
need to be the person you are. And in
mm,
that case, it is extremely important that when you build a brand, people connect with you as a person, as a human. And
mm,
increasingly, a lot of sales happens because people trust you.
mm,
People trust people more than companies and big brands, and that's why even big brands are looking at personalizing their or humanizing their thing. And that's why I think it's extremely important that you build a brand so that you build a unique proposition. You may be in an industry where so many others are offering the same service, but nobody can be you. And your personal
Correct.
brand stands out, becomes a unique selling point and a unique advantage for your business. That's how I look at
Mhm.
sort of personal branding, especially in a
Sure.
sales context.
Of course, in fact, what you're trying to say is that it's not that difficult to build your own personal brand because the differential advantage is already there for you. So actually, it's
Yes,
easier than tougher, perhaps.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Awesome. I'll quickly. We have our guest Mitch out here, who's one of our listeners, and she's speaking about how focusing on the problem that you're solving for your customer is what helps do the sales, which is where you were also mentioning that it
Absolutely.
helps to talk about what the entrepreneur can bring to their audience. And perhaps that's a common mistake that many entrepreneurs do, that they create their product and then they expect some magic to happen, or some
Yes.
magical salesperson to come their way and really talk about their product. But I think the
Yeah.
entrepreneur standing up for their product itself is
Yeah.
the
And,
first thing that
and then to add to that, Gunjan, a very important point which I've noticed is nobody can talk with the passion as you have as a founder.
so
Right.
true.
That's very important. People miss this. You can hire
Mm,
a lot of salespeople team, but for them, a lot of them, it's a job. For you,
mm,
it's not a job. You are building
mm,
your company, right? It's much more than a job.
mm.
So even if, let's say, you are not the best communicator, I want to tell this to maybe all the listeners out who are there who may be thinking that I'm not cut for sales, I'm not made for
Absolutely.
sales. But the fact is that nobody can bring in the why, the passion that you have, and and
Mm,
and that's why even if, let's say, you're lacking in a typical salesy skill, you can make it
yeah.
up more from your passion, which audience and your customers can easily make it out. So I think that's also another reason why one should not shy away from selling and facing customers and pitching for deals.
Yeah, yeah. So well put. Actually, what you're saying is, just be authentically you. Doesn't matter the language, doesn't matter, the presentation. I mean, broadly, of course. But what
Yes.
really matters is the value that you're bringing and how you are bringing it as yourself, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Amazing,
Yes.
amazing. So Ruchi also has an important point where she says that
Yeah.
this also kind of consolidates why many entrepreneurs says that I go and when I sit on the chair,
Yeah.
I'm able to close deals very fast, but my team
Yes.
struggles with it. It's such a
Yes.
common problem that we all face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. One more a mistake, and do correct me if I'm wrong, that I feel entrepreneurs make is that they get confused about the concept of networking itself, right?
Hmm.
Here again, I would like to bring in my interaction with many entrepreneurs, when many of them shy away, saying that I am the introvert types, I don't know what to go and talk about my business in a large setup like that. And
Hmm.
I don't want to sell myself. How to really break that barrier? And that's a question that I've always wondered. Would love to hear from a specialist like you on this one.
Oh, sure. I think this is again. I have also come across this a lot in my career because, and I think the way I will look at it is people mistake networking. The way they define networking. So I have a famous. The way I look at it is don't even use the word networking. Maybe if networking
Mm,
word puts you off, it's more about engaging, right? And
mm,
building engagements, building genuine relationships, and building engagement. I would say networking is more about engagement. If you approach
mm,
networking in a sales pitch way, then yes, there is always a challenge.
mm,
So one is how you approach networking. What I advise people to do, and what I also do at my own end, uh, and what I've seen really work very well is build genuine curiosity and genuine connections.
nice,
That's the first thing, right?
nice.
And that works with not pushing not talking about your business or your service or what you can do, but trying to understand what the other person is bringing to the table,
Mm,
where they
mm,
are stuck. Everybody likes to talk about themselves, and in networking events, I've seen so many people just trying to push cards, trying to talk about their service, trying to push this, and this sounds very pushy, and this normally
true,
doesn't lead too much to think.
true.
The idea is to build genuine connections, understand what the other person is doing.
Mm,
Obviously, talk about your things also, but
mm,
not in a way in which you are at the face, right? If they show
mm,
curiosity, tell about them. And again, networking, I will always say, is a long game. It is not about one networking event. That's the other
mm,
mistake I've seen people make. They think they go to a networking event and they have to collect those many cards, or they have to just
mm,
talk to 100 people and then keep following them. That's not the way. Maybe
mm,
connect with 10 people, and immediately things will not happen. Build some connections after the event. Like,
mm.
I can say this. I've seen so many people don't do the follow up on networking. They are very aggressive in the networking day, but
The visiting card gets lost in the bag somewhere.
after that, nothing happens. And the magic is after the networking event. The magic is
Mm,
not in the networking event.
mm,
And so many people don't do that. Even in
mm,
social media, they will DM you, connect you, and then they just don't follow up. That
mm,
doesn't build things. So you need to build long-term engagement and offer
mm,
value first, and then
mm,
expect things to happen. So I think if that frame of reference we change, I think a
mm,
lot will change. Sales will happen, but
mm.
the way you look at it is very important.
Interesting. It brings me to one important, learning from my own life that I want to share about networking. I traditionally have never been a networker. It's really not my cup of tea. From whatever the usual, I believe like how sales is a misunderstood word. Similarly, as you said, even networking is a misunderstood word. And typically, I've not been the networking types either. But as you also mentioned, consistently sharing value over a period of time has
Yeah,
not only cemented my relationship with that person or that client, but that person has then helped me build my network further by sharing a good word about us, and hence kind of increasing
yeah,
the
absolutely.
widening the net.
Yeah, it's a
Mm,
multiplier effect, right? It is not that many times direct networks may not get you business, but the
true.
network expands and referrals and others, they happen. So I think it's a constant game, long game. Need to be patient in that,
Mm.
and need to be genuinely curious and genuinely offering value. That helps.
Interesting, interesting. I also take back generally curious. I thought that was a great word. When you show up with that authenticity, it is seen by the other, and they kind of, get bonded with that, right? To that, I just want to add, what Ruchi is bringing up about,
Hmm.
the idea is to not get sales, but it is to really, share the kind of work that you do, and, hence, I believe the kind of value that they can offer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Priyanka has a question for us, and I'll just read it out for our audience, for
Hmm.
you, Manish, as well. Is it okay to let go of a sale? Okay, if a negotiation is going way below the price you're willing to provide for the product or service? So, I'm sure this is a
Ah.
$1 million question, but I'm sure you
Yes, a
can answer.
$1 million question. Yes, I would say this is very tough to answer in without getting into the context. The rule of thumb. So I have two things when I always say when something like this comes up. Firstly, I very strongly believe that in very rare occasions you lose sale only because of price. We think it is only because of price, but normally if the client is saying it is because of price, then there is always something else, either one
Mm,
or two or three different factors which the client is not revealing. So the first point on that is that
mm,
only because of price, yes, maybe 10%, 15% sales
mm,
you may lose only because of price. Now in
mm,
that case, what to do? The simple way, what's the price versus return, right?
mm,
If it is a deal which is like, I have done so many deals in my career where maybe I have done it at a, I will not say at a loss, but at cost
mm,
to cost, at a very
mm,
low margin, but I've
mm.
gone ahead and done it because they were strategically important for me to grow.
Sure.
So I am a big believer is you can take a one step backward for two steps forward. That
Mm,
always. But I think just undercutting on price, and I've seen so many people make, again, founders and entrepreneurs make this mistake, because a lot of us, and I cannot talk about myself because I am also a founder now. We
mm,
do make a mistake to get something, just to grab something, because maybe the business is low, so we just want to sort of get anything at any cost. But normally I've not seen that work well in the long
mm,
run. So just
yeah.
playing on price may not work. But
Mm,
yes, if lowering price and getting a business is strategically important, then yes, why not? At some cases,
mm.
yes. So that's a two-part answer to what Priyanka was asking.
Right. So a lot of contextualizing, a lot of discernment, and a lot of
Hmm.
foresight, I think, is what you're saying, has to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
behind making a decision like that.
absolutely,
Right.
yes.
Awesome. And Ruchi also has to, has given us a nice quote here saying that sales is a byproduct of marketing, network is a type of marketing, networking is a
Yes,
type of marketing,
yes,
and building meaningful relationships, of course, right?
Absolutely.
uh,
Yes.
you mentioned one of the places you mentioned that these are some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make. So I would love to know a little more about a lot of it is mindset, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what are these other mindset barriers that you feel entrepreneurs have, due to which they end up making certain mistakes and certain which can easily be avoidable, really?
Yeah, and I think this the one thing that I'm going to now share is not just for entrepreneurs, but I think for everybody. And this looks
Sure.
cliched, but let me try and make it more simpler.
Yeah.
Everybody says failure is a learning path, like you should not fear failure
Mm,
and all that.
mm,
And
mm,
to some people, it looks like cliched, but let me tell you how this really works, especially in
mm,
sales. Uh,
mm,
One is the mistake a lot of people do is they fear a lot of failure. They feel what will happen if I pitch, what will happen if I get no. And that sort of limits a lot of people from selling or pitching or talking about their services. And let me give
mm,
you my own example.
mm.
So when I started my solo journey, my own entrepreneur journey, yeah, you're
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You
uh,
we lost you for a
yeah,
couple of seconds.
yeah. When I started it, I was thinking I will pitch to a particular segment of customers, and I
Mm,
started pitching there.
mm,
I got a mixed response. Some deals I got, some deals I didn't. So I
mm.
started working on it. But on the whole of it, if you see, it was not very successful.
Okay.
Now, there's one way to look at it is I failed. I had
Mm,
a goal for that segment. I was pitching there.
mm,
I could not get
mm,
the results. So one way to look at it is you failed. But the other way,
mm,
the way I looked at, especially from a founder lens, I'll say, as I said,
mm,
founder, the thing is never perfect. You have to
mm,
keep trying new things, right? So I was trying an idea. I was trying to pitch to a particular segment.
mm,
While pitching and while trying to serve a bit of those clients, I realized that maybe my services are not of that much value to that segment.
sure.
Also, the way and maybe they are valuing something different which I don't bring to the table. So
Mm-hmm,
that is a very useful knowledge because that
mm-hmm,
helped me to move away from that segment and invest my energy into a different segment where I got much more success and much more strength. Now
amazing.
imagine if I would not have tried, how would have learned? If I would
Yeah.
not have tried and failed in that segment, I would have kept thinking. And this is a big mistake. You asked me the mistake. I think a lot of founders spend too much time thinking and planning, and too less
Brooding over
time,
their work sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and too less time on the field and really testing out what they think will work. The real
Mm,
test always is the market. You may think
mm,
you are the best in the world, but if market doesn't think you are the best, then you are nothing. And that may sound like a very blunt statement, but I think especially for a forum like this, where we're talking to entrepreneurs, I think everybody needs to understand that you are
yeah.
as good as the market. Market thinks you are. Uh,
Wow.
so that's what I say. Learning from failure. You try, you
Mm,
fail, you understand what is not working, and then you go and put your energy into something place where it is going to work. So that I think is one mistake which I think a lot of people do. And the other one I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs do is they are too
mm.
much obsessed with their own product and services and too less with the customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have created a product, you have created a service, you are thinking it is good, but uh, try to spend that much time with the client and understand what they care about.
Mm,
Are you reflecting? And again, it boils down to having more face time with the clients, speaking more
mm,
to the clients, prospective clients, getting rejected. That's all part of the game because
mm,
that will make you understand what is going to work. So I think these were some of the mistakes which I think I've seen people do, and which I think, especially for founders and especially for entrepreneurs, cost a lot because there is no straight journey
mm,
in entrepreneurship, right? If you try, fail, learn, try,
mm.
succeed. That's I think the only loop that works.
Amazing, amazing. In fact, I think the thing that I am taking back from here is to what you're really saying is not to see failure as an absolute, but really contextualize the failure so that you can take the learning out of it. So if you failed at securing a certain project, it's not just a full stop that, oh, I failed.
Yeah.
There is a because and there is a why and there is a and so what, which kind of puts
Mhm.
the whole thing in a contextual frame, helping us take back the learning, right? I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. Superb.
There
Thanks,
is a
Manish. I have a question from one of our listeners, Kundan Mishra, who says, "Hi, Manish. Why sales always an underrated professional. Whereas it is actually the backbone of any business, very true, to grow and expand. Sales always works on a recency effect in today's,
Yes. Yes.
so why is that contradiction there? I think that will make for
No,
an
no,
interesting.
absolutely. And on a joking term, I'll say a lot of people who don't think who think sales is underrated, suddenly start realizing the importance of sales once they turn entrepreneurs. So I know so many techies who are very happy being techie, being software developers, being great in technology product. But once they started their companies, they realized that all their tech knowledge, all their
Hmm.
product knowledge, all their technical knowledge, so to say, is
Hmm.
not helping them scale the business. It is the sales knowledge that will help. So that's one part of it. So the underrated thing, yes, maybe in corporate world it is, uh, because maybe sales doesn't have that much of a glamour, which maybe certain professions like management consulting, software,
Hmm.
tech has. The
Hmm.
money, upfront money, which a lot of people look at it. Sales is looked
Hmm.
more as the hard work, the poor cousin type of a thing. But as Kundan said, sales
Yeah.
is what runs the business, and especially if you are going to run your own company, then
Hmm.
sales is the thing. Maybe I would even dare and say, if you are good in selling, if you have a good sales system, then even if your product is not the best, you will still do better than somebody
Hmm.
who has a better product but
Hmm.
doesn't know how to sell. So it is
Hmm.
like that. So it's that more
Yeah.
important thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about putting the getting the priorities in line, right? And seeing what you
Yes.
need to get your business going and rolling as well. And I think that's where sales plays a very important role. Awesome. And of course, Ruchi says keep adapting. I think this is in response to your market
Yeah.
understanding that you keep adapting basis what you hear from your leads and customers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I think we are drawing to an end. I think it's been a fantastic conversation. Unless there are more questions, I think I'd be more very very happy to ask Manish more such questions, because we are not going to get such a interesting and direct sales conversation so easily. But so far it's been a great chat with you, Manish. I'll like to conclude with what we started with. I think you identified yourself as a non-salesy sales coach, and I think all this goes out to all those entrepreneurs who feel that they are non-salesy people. Of course, it's an easy right for those who feel that they can really put it out there and really stand up and make it very easy and butter smooth to run their business. But we all know that reality can be something else, and it doesn't matter what kind of person you are, as long as you're reaching out with authenticity is what I understand is the best tip to be. So it's not about the notorious understanding of sales, but it's really about putting yourself out there and just
Yeah.
standing up for what you do, and just focus on bringing value to the other, keeping the other in front of you. Right,
Yeah.
Manish? I would
Yeah.
be so happy to hear some closing words from you, which our people
No,
can take back and find the.
no, absolutely. I think well summarized. This is how I look at it. Again, sales is something. It's a way we look at it. I think everybody
Hmm.
does selling, but
Hmm.
the only concluding remark I'll make is, if you are running a business, if you are a founder, then just start looking at sales in a different way. Don't look at
Hmm.
it as another function which you want to
Hmm.
outsource.
Nice.
In
Nice.
fact, ideally, sales is the last thing you should outsource. A lot of people think that some outsource agency is going to do that. Who will bring that passion? Who will bring that knowledge that you have?
Nice.
Foundational skills of selling, I think everybody should learn,
Hmm.
and start looking at sales as a non-salesy way, as you rightly said. If you look at
Hmm.
sales as a way of serving and helping your clients
True.
to achieve
True.
their goals and success, then you
Hmm.
are not in a selling business, you are in the helping business. And
Hmm.
and that's great, because what's the better way to make everybody successful than
Yeah.
helping them? So I think that's it's just a reframing of mind. And maybe I think this is what I'd like to conclude today's discussion.
Awesome. I knew there were some pearls of wisdom still hidden there. So, Manish, before we go, one last question. I think we have just enough time for this question from Mr. Amit Mehta, who says, great session. Thank you, Amit. How can designers better their sales pitches? I think
Oh.
this would be a fun one.
That's very very contextual. So I honestly don't know what type of designer, but in general, if I have to say, how can you design better sales pitches? I think two important things. The best sales pitches are less about you, more about your client.
Hmm.
So in your sales pitches, if you start always with the client in mind, always talk about what challenges you see clients facing, and always talk about what outcomes your client want, and then weave your whatever offer, let's say designer offer or any offer that you have, into marry that into, I think the people typically do the reverse way. They talk a lot about themselves, their feature, their service, and then they expect the client to decipher, okay, how this service is going to help me. People don't have that much time, and that's not the way to pitch. So start with the client, start with the understanding of the client, design your pitch to help the client, and show them that you understand them, you understand their problems, and how your services or product or whatever you're offering is going to help them reach the outcome that they want. I think if some anybody can do this, they'll their pitch is going to become maybe 10x better than what they are doing today.
Amazing. I think golden words out there. I'm sure they are going to help all of those people listening to us live as well as those who might listen to us later. And with that, I would love to bring this session to a close, though I don't want to bring it to a close. Manish, it's been a fantastic interaction with you. And many, many thanks to you for sparing time with us here today. And thank you to all our viewers and on Hen Live. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank
yeah, thank you, Gunjan, and thank you, the Hen Network, for this opportunity. It was lovely interacting. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.